Okay, today's lesson is on average rate of change, which is also called slope. What I want you to do is take a couple minutes, do the warm-up. Now, while you are doing the warm-up, you want to pause this video and go to your OneNote, complete the warm-up. When you are done with the warm-up, play the video, and then you can see the correct answer. Okay, the table is filled out for you, and it says after placing an equation into his calculator, Rob got the following table. He then determines that x equals 6 when f of x equals negative 4. Is this correct? Explain. Remember, negative 4 is in the y spot. So when we go to our table, we're looking here. This is y. So we're trying to find a y of negative 4. If I go down the list, y of negative 4 is right here. So what is our x? Our x should be 2. So is he correct? No. He is not correct. And you must state that the y, or the x, is 2 when y equals negative 4. Okay, so let's move on to today's lesson. So scroll down. Remember, functions are rules that give us outputs when we supply them with inputs. Very often, we want to know how fast the outputs are changing compared to a change in the input values. This is referred to as the average rate of change, so another vocab word. We also call this slope, which you should be very familiar with, or maybe 8th grade, rise over run. So let's try our first example. Our first example is giving us a graph, and it says Max and his younger sister, Evie, are having a race in the backyard. Max gives his sister a head start, and they run for 20 seconds. The distance they are along in the race in feet is given below, with Max's distance given by the function m of t, and Evie is given by the function of e of t. So this is Max, and this is Evie. So first question says, how do you interpret the fact that m of 12 equals 30? Illustrate your response by using the graph. So if we take a look at the graph and we think about this, m of 12, what does the 12 stand for? What does the 30 stand for? By now, through Unit 3, we should know this. The 12 stands for x, and the 30 stands for y. So how do we write this as a point? Well, we know our x, which is 12, and we know our y, which is 30. So let's go to our graph and let's actually find that point. Now you see across this axis, we're going up by what? 2's. So to get to 12, we're right here. So here's 12, and we're going to go up to 30. Where's 30? Here's 30, here's 12. So this is the point, 12, 30. But what does that mean? Well, down here, if you look where the 12 is, 12 stands for time, and 30 is going to stand for distance. So how do we write this as a sentence? After 12 seconds, they have gone 30 feet. That's what it means by interpret. Now, if both runners start at t equals 0, so here's 0, this is our 0 right here, how much of a head start does Max give his little sister? How can you tell? So here is Max, here is Evie at 0. How much of a distance, a head start? So how high is Evie compared to Max? If you do the math, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 feet. Does Max catch up to his sister? How can you tell? Well, if he catches up to his sister, what would that look like on the graph? That would look like a intercept. Are there any intercepts on this graph over here? No. There are no intercepts. How far does Max run during the 20-second race? So as we see, all the way at the end is 20 seconds. This is Max. If we go up, we will see how far Max went. How far did Max go? Write it down. You should say 50 feet. How about Evie? Evie's up here. At 20 seconds, how far does Evie go? Write it down. You should have wrote 60 feet. But technically, Evie got a head start. Evie has a head start of 25 feet. So she doesn't actually travel 60 feet. We have to take away the 25 feet head start that she got and say that Evie actually only ran 35 feet. So right now we haven't done anything to do with the average rate of change or slope. We're leading up to it. We're now going to look at that right now. It says, how fast do both Evie and Max travel? In other words, how many feet do each of them run per second? Express your answers as decimals and attach units. So now we're going to start the formula. Now the formula, as you can see, it's how many feet per a second. So technically, when we're going to do this, we're going to do feet over seconds. So for Max up here, Max was right here. He went 50 feet. So Max is feet over seconds. They both ran 20 seconds. Gives him what? Put it in the calculator. If you figure it out, it's a decimal. It's 2.5 feet per second. How about Evie? How far did Evie go? Evie's up here. She went 35 feet over her 20 seconds. Put it in the calculator. Convert it to a decimal. What is her speed? 1.75 feet per second. So as we see, Max went faster than his sister, but because she got a head start, it looks like she won the race. So that was a little glimpse of average rate of change. Now, finding the average rate of change is the same as finding the, and what's that word that we keep saying that we think about in 8th grade, the word we use in 8th grade, which is the slope of a line. There is, of course, a formula for finding the average rate of change. And this is the formula. I really don't like this formula here. This is not what you're going to be used to. But the important part is how much the y changes over how much the x changes. Now, the formula that you should be used to and what you will be given on the Regents and on any test, you don't have to memorize it. The formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and that equals m, which remember m stands for slope. This is all 8th grade. M stands for slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's practice this formula. They want us to find the average rate of change from -1 to 3 with this function right here. Now to find it, you must know your points. That's how all average rate of change functions start. when we find the slope. So what they have given us is x equals -1, okay? They didn't give us y. They also told us x equals 3, okay? That goes here. But they didn't give us y. So what are the y's? How do we find the y's? You have two options we have now explored. You, A, can plug -1 into this function and get your y. And you can plug 3 into this function and get your y. Or remember in our last lesson we were using the graphing calculator. You guys can go to the graph screen, graph this function, pull up your table. Remember, Control T brings up the table, and go to -1 and 3 in your table and find your y's. So go ahead, pause this video, use either the substitution method or your calculator, and find the y's. Okay, either method, when you find the y's, you should have got answers of 4 and 12. Now, where do we go from here? This is where we start labeling. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. Now we use the formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we plug in, well, what is our y2? It's right here, 12. What is our y1? It's right here, 4. What is our x2? 3. What is our x1? -1. Now I'm going to write it like this because there's a minus sign and a -1. So we simplify this. 12 minus 4, 8. 3 minus a -1, technically you add them, is 4. What's 8 divided by 4? 2. There is your slope. You have now found your slope. You've done this a lot of times in 8th grade. There's your answer. So now what I want you to do is go ahead and pause this video, click on exercise 4, and then come back to the video when you have completed exercise 4. I will be looking at these answers outside of class. Okay, hopefully you were successful on exercise 4. Let's finish the lesson. This is one more time. We're going to be doing the slope formula. We're talking about glasses of lemonade, and here's our function. Again, they gave us x. It's t, but it's the same thing as x. They gave us our x's. They did not give us our y's. So we write out our points. We know our x is 2. We don't know our y. We know our x is 6. We don't know our y. Go ahead, pause the video, and use your method of the calculator or substitution and find the y's. Once you have found the y's, I want you to try and do the slope formula yourself. Okay, hopefully you were successful in finding the y's. For 2, the y is 4. For 6, the y is 20. Label them x1, y1, x2, y2. Use your formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What is our y2? 20. What is our y1? 4. What is our x2? 6. What is our x1? 2. 20 minus 4 is 16. 6 minus 2 is 4. Well, what's 16 divided by 4? 4. Now it says include proper units. What are we talking about? We're talking about glasses she sold in an hour. So this is 4 glasses per an hour. To finish the lesson, you can read through this, but I would love you to go down to the bottom, click on the exit ticket, and complete it. When you are done with this exit ticket, get on Schoology and start your homework. You will not have time to do this homework tomorrow in class. We're going to be taking a quiz.